Okay, good afternoon. This is Lawrence McD, and I've recently initiated a YouTube page. I'm 54 years old. I'm way out of touch with technology. I have no clue about what I'm doing. But my father granted me with certain talents and made sure that I utilized those talents on his behalf. So before I go any further, I would like to qualify, or better yet, just give an introduction of myself. I was raised in a fatherless environment, the youngest of four children. I have two other brothers and one sister. To this day, all professionals, very well. I love my mother. She was one of the strongest people. She is one of the strongest females that I know in my life, and I love her immensely. Consequently, is possibly part of my problem. But in any event, I had my first sexual experience when I was 11 years old, and hindsight being 2020, I wish I hadn't, but I did. Okay, so the only male, elderly type, older type guidance that I received were from my two brothers, and they were great. They loved me to death. They guided me to the best of their abilities. There were three basic things I learned from them. One of which was, if you want it, you work for it. That one was very powerful. And it's probably the key one as to why I am where I am today, and I'm happy. The second one was, nothing beats a failure but a try. So anything and everything that comes into my mind that I would like to accomplish, I know that all I have to do is try. The third one, however, is, if you ain't in it, you don't win it. And that's the one that has probably created the most trouble for me. By the time I was 18, 19 years old, I already had a baby on the way, got married, and because of the first one, if you want it, you gotta work for it, I joined the military. I spent 7.5 years in the military. I've been to several different countries. I've experienced a multitude of cultures. And you know what? As quiet as it's kept, in the poorer regions where there was not a lot of wealth, those people were really happy. Happy and content and loving life. But that's a whole nother story. In any event, the effects of me seeing all these different cultures, seeing all these different lifestyles, being in the military, I discovered a huge contradiction that happiness and peacefulness had nothing to do with reality, the reality I was living. I was not happy with what I was doing, but I was doing what I was taught to do. I was going out. I was supporting my country. I was fighting whatever fight they told me to fight. I was good at it. But although in my mind, logically, it was not making sense because there was no war. Consequently, what ended up happening was I started to drink a lot. Eventually, I began using hard drugs, which in effect led me to being asked to leave the military. And I don't blame them. I developed the contradiction of it all never set well in my mind. It was hard for me to do that job. At the end of the road, after all of these things, after witnessing all of the things that I witnessed, at the end of the road, I had sired 5 children, 2 of which were aborted. The regret that I will take to my grave is that I didn't raise any of them. All I ever wanted to do was be a good father and be a good husband. I love all 3 of my children, and I miss them. But it was at that point that I realized the importance of fatherly guidance. I am not blaming anyone because life is what it is. But I do feel that had my father been in my home, my outcome may have been different. I may have been able to commit to my wife or my women. Instead, my younger brothers taught me, if you ain't in it, you don't win it. So I thought it was my job to jump up and down on every woman I came across, and that's what I did. At that point, I knew that I needed guidance. I needed real teaching. And that's when I met my father, my real father, the father that I have today, the father that I listen to, the father that is never changing, the father that every word that comes from him speaks of love, truth of character, consistency, and morality. The pieces that I'm going to share on this page will reflect exactly what I have learned from my new father. My blessings are with all of those that are listening.